track wrestling here at the NAIA Championships with Concordia heavyweight Tanner Farmer. One of the most interesting stories, maybe the most interesting story in NAIA wrestling this season, that you find out you've got an extra year of eligibility after starting for 3 years at Nebraska on the offensive line, and you give wrestling a shot. Can you kind of walk us through how you got to this point and heading into the semifinals on Saturday?
I had an opportunity after I didn't make it in the NFL or the CFL to work at Concordia as a volunteer assistant coach with the football program. And the football offices are right next to the wrestling room, and so I got to know Coach Calhoun very well. We'd see each other a lot and joke around, and after I learned how the NAIA eligibility worked compared to the NCAA, I realized that I had an extra semester of eligibility. So I talked to Coach Calhoun and the football program, and we worked it out to where I was able to come back and wrestle.
Is that something where, when you hear that, like, hey, I want to do this right away, or was there a little time to contemplate and what do I have to do to make this happen?
Well, I had to figure out what I had to do. I wanted to do it right away.
Yeah.
It's like, this could be it. Let's get it. But I had to jump through some hoops and stuff like that, get all my eligibility cleared from the NCAA through the NAIA, and then get accepted into grad school. So we were pretty sure that it was going to be able to work out, especially as soon as we got the NAIA stamp of approval. Though we were ready to go and we hit the ground running.
So you're a two-time state champ in Illinois, correct?
Yes, sir.
So you're not starting from scratch here, but how much rust was there to shake off after not being on the mat for 4 or 5 years there?
I'm still shaking off rust. I got to wrestle with Nebraska some in their wrestling room, and during the off seasons for football, but not wrestling matches. I wasn't there necessarily to make myself as good as I could be. My goal was to make David Jensen be the best heavyweight that he could be. So. It takes a while, and I remember in high school it took me years. It took me years to get to where I was a state champion and then a repeater where I did it in a dominant fashion. So, taking all those years off, having to shake off all that rust. If I just spent another couple years, who knows where I could be. So,
did you have many schools talk to you about wrestling in college when you were in high school?
I think there were some schools. I was more focused on football.
Sure.
Because Division I football was, if you get a scholarship offer, it's a full ride, regardless. Where wrestling a lot of times is partials, and if you want to get a full ride, academic has to cover the rest of it.
So we hear a lot about how wrestling helps people in football, leverage, balance, all hand fighting, all of that stuff. What about the other way around? What kind of benefits do you derive now as a wrestler from having played Big Ten offensive line?
Tight elbows, tight hands, striking, getting up there tight on a defensive guy. That helps me kind of works in. Having to drive under control so you don't get shook off, stuff like that. So just being under control. They complement each other very well. I'd say pretty much if you play in the box, offensive line, defensive line, linebacker, you should probably wrestle too. That way, in my opinion, that's how you're going to maximize your potential in that area. How
much were you getting over to the Husker room and rolling around with those guys?
For about 3 years, just during the off season. My first year was a little bit more time because I wasn't a starter, so I had a little more leeway as far as they could miss me more. I didn't have to dedicate as much time to game planning and stuff like that. So that I actually got to wrestle in the Hastings Open that year. For Nebraska, but then after that I became a starter for Nebraska, and I come in December, January, so whatever, and be really behind 315 pounds. If I wanted to wrestle, I'd have to cut 30 pounds, and that's not going to happen in that time period. Were
the Nebraska coaches fully supportive of it too, kind of encourage you to go over there, and they see the benefits of it too?
Yeah, at one point I was actually weighing like 340, 350 pounds. I was just grossly overweight. College freshman 20 was had nothing on me. Okay, so I just put on so much weight, and I talked to the coaches, and I was like, listen, I want to be the starter, and I know I'm having a weight issue right now. I said, let me join the wrestling team. I know that's something that's going to refocus me, and that's going to get me in the right headspace and physically where I need to be. And the coach at first was, I don't know about that. And I was like, just trust me. And I did it, and then the next year I was a starter. So
So let's rewind to this Concordia deal. At what point was it here in the last several months that you decided that this was going to work? You were going to give it a shot.
I found out, I think around December, like late November to December, but I wasn't able to like wrestle with Concordia until January. So I just worked out on my own, trying to cut down weight, all that good stuff. And then in January, I started practicing with them, and here I am.
How much did you have to lose at the beginning there?
During the football season as a coach, I was weighing about 315 pounds.
Yeah. Tough cut? Easy cut? What?
Tough times. Tough times. It was going pretty good. At Christmas, right before Christmas, I was down to about 290, ready to come in into January and like join the room almost right at weight, and then I go with my fiance back to where she's from and spend Christmas with her, and I put on 10 pounds. So that made it a lot tougher, but it wasn't too bad.
Did you have any idea what you're getting into, like how this was going to go, goal setting, anything like that? What did you want to get out of this year?
My goal from the beginning was national championship. I know that I have the physical potential. I have the mental potential to be a national champion. It's just, have I put in the work? Am I going to do it now? I'm at the point where I'm 25-0, I think. And so I've done everything I said I would do thus far. Let's see if I can finish it out.
Where did you feel like you have made the biggest gains since December?
Conditioning, definitely, and just smart wrestling, not making stupid mistakes. I have made some stupid mistakes this season, and I was just lucky to come out on top a couple times. But just those areas, I'd say.
How do you feel about the way you wrestled today?
Some good, some bad. Like I said, I'm still shaking off rust. I'm still growing. Every match is a learning lesson, a learning opportunity for me. So I just got to keep on getting better. There's some things that I did really well today, and there's some things that I didn't do so well. So I just need to come in tomorrow and fix those things and do the best that I can.
You've been out there in front of 80, 90, over 100,000 people on Saturdays in the Big Ten, and I can't imagine what that's like. But then you come probably wrestle in front of 100 people at a dual meet, and it's still competition. How do you compare and contrast the thrills you get from competing out here on the mat to what it was like Saturdays in the Big Ten?
To be honest with you, I get more nervous for wrestling. I get nervous, my stomach gets upset, I start sweating, and it's just. But once I get out on the mat, I'm fine. But it's just like leading up to it. I don't know what it is about wrestling. It's just like a special sport. For me, it holds a special place in my heart. And it really gets to me. It gets me just nervous as heck. Football, on the other hand, I was nervous for that first season, and then you kind of just got used to it. And you got kind of comfortable with your job. Where wrestling, it seems like I've never been able to get comfortable with.